You just got wrecked.
He needs some milk.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an alright day today. Now, Bitcoin has taken a bit of a fall. Right here, you can see we're actually pushing down as I'm making this video, sitting at around 21,400. Will we go lower? Is this the bottom? Is the move invalidated? Was that it? Bear market rally over? That's what we're going to talk about today. Now, this video is coming out a little earlier than usual. I generally like to wait until we have the stock market open. I'm sure in a few hours, if you're watching, we will have our answer, but I do just want to show you exactly what I'm looking at in the charts right now, whether or not we truly have lost this structure. I also want to discuss some things just going on in the US right now. Some people are obviously concerned about this global inflation, and I also want to just zoom out, show you guys the bigger picture, essentially, to what is really happening right now, especially if you are new to crypto or just new to markets or things like this in general. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you're not subscribed, we're going to hop in directly and have a look at the charts. Now, we were talking about how we were in this rising wedge pattern, and I did talk about how we did have this downward sloping resistance and how we were literally hitting it. Now, rising wedges are bearish, right? That's why, my video yesterday was warning there's a lot of things that could happen in the short term, right? There's the FUD over Mt. Gox, which I told you guys I'm not really worried about, but nevertheless, people are concerned. They're concerned about the rates being raised. And obviously we had the stock markets kind of topping out, which I'll get to in a minute, but nevertheless, the biggest question right now is, does this mean that the structure is broken? Well, as far as this uptrend is concerned, yes, technically the structure is broken. If we zoom in and have a look right here, though, you will notice that as long as we don't go lower than this candle right here, then technically you can say that we are continuing to put in a higher low, even if that low, is kind of slumping over something like this, right? Now, falling below that would invalidate it. Let's have a look at what I talked about in yesterday's video. You can see right here, absolutely nothing has changed in this chart at all. And actually, I'll just play the clip and show you that we were expecting this level to hit. And guess what, guys? It actually hit exactly. So in this instance, we were talking about the short trade being a crowded trade. Usually you don't want to take the crowded trade. Well, this actually is a circumstance in which, actually all of those shorts we talked about, they were right. It actually did work, right? But you could see we did perfectly, guys, hit the bottom of this green zone. And I'm going to play that clip for you super quick. This was in yesterday's video. The ultimate level where I would be looking to sort of cut it off is around 21,210, because essentially you could see back here where we had all of this resistance right here in this area. What it would end up doing is, if we didn't flip that as support, that would be really, really bad. And if we fell through, then I would have to basically cancel out on that. But I would say that if we do come down and test around that $21,600, $21,300 area, that would be definitely where I would re-up on the longs. Okay, great. So we got the move. Awesome. We called it. Amazing. What now? We are in the danger zone. So what does Bitcoin need to do? Well, you could see the reason that we stopped here is because we were talking about this area right here, and we want to hold this as support, right? And also we have this upward sloping trend. We have 1 point of contact, 2 points of contact. And technically we didn't touch it by a few dollars, but I would say that there's a chance maybe we come down, we might go a little bit lower. Maybe we come down to 21,100 or something right there. So that is a possibility, but I do just want to say be cautious at these levels. If you didn't get into the short, I wouldn't short now. There's a chance it could go lower, but really now you want to try to see if we find that bottom and give it a day, just to kind of figure out where it wants to be, if it's going to form a base. But you can see right here that this would be, like I said, the area if you did want to open a long. Now, the thing that would invalidate it is 20,738, and that is because you could see right here, right? Look at this structure. Look at this support we had right here. Look at this wick we had right here. Look at this other wick that we had back here as well. And look at this resistance that we had right here. So you could see that this $20,738 level is very critical. That would be the level that I would put my stop losses. So if you were going to long today, that's where I would put my stop losses in, and you're not going to win every trade. You are taking a risk by doing that, but that's essentially where I would put my stops. And again, we'll see how that plays out tomorrow in the video. If you guys are interested in learning how to trade, obviously make sure you check out the tutorial popping up above, bonuses below. You guys know the deal. But we were talking about the super guppy switching from blue into neutral. Now look at this. We did switch back into blue, and we did get this red arrow, which usually does show that you may have a little bit more move to go to the downside. upside. This doesn't mean that the bottom, has to go lower. It doesn't mean that we have to go to $10,000 Bitcoin, because look, remember back here, I showed you guys in this original example that we had showed, we were out of the blue, right? We went 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And on the 5th week, we switched back into the blue, and we did in fact correct. So look at this. From that moment down to the bottom, Bitcoin had a 29% correction. But the point that I was trying to make in yesterday's video was that the bottom had been in, right? Even though, yes, we went up, we came back down, we stayed technically in a bear market. We stayed in a downwards sideways trend still for a long time, right? From January 19th of 2015, really all the way until November 2nd of 2015, we still stayed in a bear market. I'm not saying we're in a bull market, but I am saying that this signal flashed, we went back into blue, big deal. We got the red arrow, we fell, but the bottom was in, right? Same thing back here. This is what I talked about in yesterday's video, and you can see it's absolutely no different what's happening today. Now, the downside to this is that if we close below $23,000 essentially by the end of this week, which is really right now happening, right? We're going into the weekend, then that would mean that we've lost the 200 weekly, which is not a good sign for Bitcoin, right? Not at least in the short term. That's something that we need to pay attention to. The one thing which sucks that I usually like to make my videos after the market's open, but hey, I guess you guys are time travelers from the future. If you're watching in a few hours, you already know what's going to happen. But I told you about this very, very, very critical resistance happening over in stocks right now. And unfortunately, guys, I didn't make the rules. Bitcoin tends to follow stocks. So look, we have resistance here, and resistance here. Not only do we have resistance purple line, we have resistance horizontally, and we're doing a rising wedge. Now, you just saw Bitcoin fall out of this rising wedge, right? You saw Bitcoin. Bitcoin did this overnight, right? What is this doing right here? It's doing the same exact move. The only, downside to this is that Bitcoin trades 24/7. So we have these crazy moves overnight, which is concerning me a little bit. This is why I'm saying hold off on everything until we see what happens with the stocks, because Bitcoin led the market. We saw the Bitcoin sell-off already happen. The markets have not opened, but if we look at the futures right here, you could see that the current market closed at 42.83, and futures are predicting 42.48, okay? So they're predicting that the markets are going to open red. If the markets open red and Bitcoin has already opened red, or it's already red right now, then we could see Bitcoin push down a little bit lower today. But don't freak out. It could just be a little bit of a trap, right? Which is why leading into the weekend, basically everything that happens over the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, don't really matter for Bitcoin. I'm just gonna be the guy that says it. It just doesn't matter. Weekend price action is crazy. I've seen insane pumps only to retrace. I've seen massive dumps only to pump back to the same level. So really keep in mind where we close this Friday, and we'll reassess that on Monday. But obviously I'll let you guys know what I'm looking at moving forward. Now, Ethereum is actually falling below. It was sitting at our first target for a little bit this morning. It's heading towards the next one around 1656. Now, 1656 is a very critical level for Ethereum, but let's be honest, guys, for the most part, if Bitcoin is falling, Ethereum is falling, the altcoins are falling, crypto just moves as a whole, generally speaking, right? Especially Bitcoin and Ethereum. So what is this scenario that we've spoke about? Well, we talked about the fact that we could be putting in a giant double bottom, right? And stick around to the end of this video because I have some really important macro stuff I just want to go over with you guys to just explain my logic behind everything right now. But ultimately, we are holding above the 200 weekly moving average on the total crypto market cap. So all of the crypto, right? And we're attempting to potentially hold this as our support, right? This previous resistance. So that's a possibility. But even if for some reason we do fall or we continue down, I've been talking about the possibility of this double bottom pattern, and double bottom patterns are inherently very bullish, right? That you usually want to retest, right? So, if we have this 200 weekly coming up here, we come down, we retest it again. Very, very common in these types of markets. And remember, we are still in a bear market, right? We're not out of the bear market just yet, but it also doesn't necessarily mean that just because Bitcoin hasn't rallied back to 30,000 that we now have to go all the way down to $10,000. And like I said, stick around to the end of the video and I'll go into that a little bit more. Same thing right here, guys. If we just look at the crypto market caps excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, so this is essentially basically all the altcoins, right? You could see the same thing right here where we could potentially come down and retest this pocket that I talked about and put in that double bottom, right? And that could stretch out potentially to the end of this year, which would make everyone obviously, bored and think that there is no hope and it's over with. But this is what happens in bear markets, especially when you get to these low areas. You just kind of crawl sideways, you bore people, they think that it's over. So let's talk about a few possibilities as to why this is happening, and then we're going to look at the bigger picture. So number one could just be that the Bitcoin miners have actually started selling, right? Ali Martinez points out that they sold about 5,925 Bitcoin in the last 2 weeks, totaling at around 142 million. And it is possible that as the prices started to drop, they, wanted to cover their costs and they sold those Bitcoin, right? So that's one possibility, could be. More likely possibility is the fact that the dollar was somehow able to not only break back above its 50 moving average, but it also broke through this resistance. I mean, it literally just sliced through it like butter, right? So this is the situation that we're having. The dollar is getting stronger, but it's not getting stronger. That's the biggest lie, right? You're seeing the DXY rally. Why is the dollar rallying? The dollar is rallying because inflation globally is worse than the US. So the US is outpacing the inflation globally slightly. We got 8.5%. The UK just came in at around 10.1% or something like that, right? So UK has 10% inflation. We have 8.5% inflation. So all you're doing is just cheering essentially for the lesser of the two evils, right? They're both inflating. 8.5% inflation is still not good. That's bad. That's very high, especially when the US has been known to be around 2 to 3%, right? But it's not just the US, you're seeing it globally. So the US is tackling this, right? They're trying to bring it down. They're trying to raise rates. What happens when you raise rates? You discourage investments. People don't want to invest their money, right? Now, it was interesting because technically, according to the GDP, we are in a recession, but they go on to say that we're not in a recession, right? I would like to actually talk about that because what Income Sharks had said, and I really like this, I retweeted this over on my Twitter. Follow me if you guys aren't, at the Crypto Zombie. He said, I don't know what the human obsession is for expecting the world to end, expecting the markets to collapse, and assuming every few years, this is the year that it all happens. 2008, we'll never recover. We did. 2020, we'll never recover. We absolutely did, guys. I mean, we went from $3,000 Bitcoin to $70,000 Bitcoin, okay? But no, this time, guys, everything's hitting the fan. It's over. World collapse. I have been listening to nothing but doom and gloom my entire life. You turn on the news every day, the world is ending. Hunger and this terrible crime is happening. It's just every single day. It's human nature. We are attracted to fear. Why? I don't know. Fear and greed, the two things that run the market. And, like Sharks pointed out, look at this article. This article just came out yesterday morning. U.S. jobless claims fall to 250,000. So the number of people who applied for unemployment benefits dipped to 250,000 in mid-August, suggesting that layoffs remain very low and the U.S. economy is still expanding. The number of people applying for jobless benefits is one of the best barometers of whether the economy is getting better or worse. So big picture, they say the economy is slowing in response to rising interest rates, but it's still growing. Right? So yes, they are raising rates. Yes, they are discouraging people to, invest, obviously, because they're tackling the highest inflation we've had in pretty much 4 decades, right? But they say many companies are still trying to hire. However, and their biggest labor problem is finding enough workers to fill open jobs. Now, look, you can read the papers, you can look in the news, you can do whatever you want. I can tell you firsthand, I know a lot of just local businesses, right? My dad is a landscaper. He knows a lot of blue collar type workers. And I will tell you right now, it's hard to find people that want to work. What actually I think happened is it's not that there's not jobs that they're laying people off or anything. I mean, yeah, they are in the crypto industry, but I mean, that's for obvious reasons. I mean, people are gambling with exchanges and services gambling with their clients' money, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to lay some people off. But, in the real world right now, people were really getting high off that stimulus supply, right? They were getting money shoved down their throats and they were like, yeah, I'm getting paid to do nothing. I'm sitting home. I'm investing. It was a little bit of a bubble period, right? And it is good to come back to the norm. It is good to reset that, right? You want to get all those meme coins and all that other stuff out and get back to the quality projects. But I can tell you, as far as unemployment is concerned, my dad can't find workers. I was talking to my irrigation guy who did all my, sprinkler system and irrigation and connected my pool and all that stuff. He says he can't find workers either. So people don't want to work, but there is demand for work. And everyone I talk to says that they're not slowing down. They're, if anything, their customer base is growing. So there's obviously some real crazy misinformation out there. And there's a lot of deliberate FUD spreading by the media, by people, I don't know, trying to make it seem like this is World War III and everything's going to collapse and it's going to end. Yes, it's not great. It's pretty bad, but it's not really terrible. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, guys, I digress from that. I'm just speaking from experience, telling you what I'm seeing out in the real world. This is just what I'm seeing with my own eyes. Maybe in your town or your country or wherever you guys are watching from, maybe everything is terrible. But around here, it's not actually terrible. It's actually the opposite. They can't find people to work. So that's the situation. And ultimately having a look right here, this is sort of like the big picture I want to break down here. So you could see, guys, and just to give you a perspective of the bear market, essentially, and oh my God, my battery's gonna die. I forgot to charge my battery, guys. Super quick, I wanna point this out. So we got this market cipher flash here, right? From the time that we got that flash to the time that it took us to actually break out of the market to get back to those previous supports, that was about 300, actually, technically it didn't break until here, about 490 days. And to get back to the next all-time high, it took 700 days, okay? Just keep that in mind. But the bottom was in. It's just that the bear market continued sideways for about another 400 days. What did it do here? We got the bottom signal. Bottom was 100% in. What did we do right here? Took about 140 days to break out. And to get back to the all-time high, it took about, oh my goodness, guys, another 700 days. But guess what? The bottom was in. But we still had to go sideways for almost, for 2 years, basically, before having the next high. So there's a possibility that we don't get back to these highs for 2 years. But it doesn't take away the fact that right now is an amazing opportunity to be dollar cost averaging buying into Bitcoin. And, let's just for fun, bring it out 700 days if you really want to go out that far. That says sometime maybe in summer of 2024, we now have a new Bitcoin all-time high. And if we look at just, the average of when we break out, roughly, that could put us maybe at the end of this year to the beginning of next year where we could be back around that $30,000 Bitcoin, right? But at the end of the day, you have to keep things in perspective. So that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. My battery is about to die. I really need to end this video right now. I love you guys. You're awesome. If you do want to trade, be careful. It's kind of like a little choppy right now. Wait until stocks open, see what happens. There is that bonus if you guys are interested. Check the tutorials below, popping up above. But that is it for me today, guys. Be safe. I love you. You're awesome. Like I said, we'll pay attention to the Friday close. Weekend trading is usually a big no-no for me. And Monday, we will reassess the charts, although I'll probably make a video. Maybe I'll make a video tomorrow or Sunday if I see something really, really worth talking about. Be safe out there, guys. It could get a little bit crazier before it gets better. We'll see. Or who knows, maybe stocks open and just completely rip to the upside. Probably not likely, but it could happen. That being said, thank you for coming back to the channel. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. And if you haven't seen this video popping up right here, right now, check it out. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.